Hello, everyone, and welcome to the second episode of HexaDashers. I'm your host, Tao of Satoshi, also known as Christopher Carruthers. And with me, I have Blake Chamness, who's well known in the Dash community. Welcome to the show again, Blake.
Hey, what's up, Tao? How you doing?
Good. We had such a great time doing this show the first time that we decided to come back, and we might make it a regular occurrence. You know, sometimes with pilots, we try it and it doesn't work out. People don't like it. Stuff like that. But you know what? This actually worked out well. A lot of people gave us some positive feedback, and we're going to keep it going. We're going to do it on a regular basis in the near future. So do you have subjects you want to talk about today, Blake? I have subjects I want to talk about. But before we get into that, let's have a little chat about lives, what's going on with you. You're in a really tropical location right now, aren't you?
I am. I'm near Ensenada, Mexico. So just enjoying the beach here. Real cool place, got a real festive vibe going, and I'm loving it. I was supposed to fly out actually last week, got an Airbnb, and I'm still going to extend it. I think I just don't want to leave.
So what brought you down there? Is this vacation or?
Yeah, I have my old Santa Barbara realtor from Santa Barbara, California, my friend Mark Martinez. We come down here. He knows it well. He's going to buy a house here soon. So we just come out here and have fun. It's just paradise.
Do you speak any Spanish yourself?
I really don't. And that's the one thing that gets old. And that's why this podcast I'm looking forward to today, to speak, because it's like people don't realize, or maybe they do, you don't realize until you're around people that don't speak your language that it just gets weird after a few days, Yeah,
you just want that release, especially someone like you who likes to talk.
It's kind of similar to the crypto thing, why like this podcast is so cool. Like I'm sure a lot of viewers could feel this, that it's like, it's so cool to talk to somebody that knows crypto as well as you do. It's like, it's so fun because very rare do we get to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. I look forward to this too, because I think you and I could bounce ideas off of each other and talk about things that are currently being talked about in the Hex and the Dash communities, because we have one foot in one and one foot in the other. Although most of my feet are in the Dash one. I have a higher investment in Dash than I do in Hex, but that doesn't matter. I like both projects, and I think both projects are very similar in some ways and very opposite in other ways. But I think they go together like milk and cookies. So we're going to talk about that over the course of the show. So yeah, I hear you like to swim. You got some swimming in down there, did you?
Yeah, it's a little cloudy today, but that was cool. Sometimes that makes it sort of eerie, and the waves were big, so it was fun.
Very nice. And you're from Texas originally, right?
Texas originally.
Yeah. That part of Texas, is everyone friendly like you, or is it just something that you have?
Yeah, I'm gonna say people are friendly. East Texas is friendly. Yeah, people from Texas, when I go other places, it's not, no one else is as prone to say hi, shake your hand, That's true. Texas is nice people.
Yeah, I could call you a Canadian with an accent.
Yeah, Canadians are nice, aren't they?
We're known to be, yeah. Not everyone, obviously, it's a stereotype, but mostly yes. Like
yeah.
we'll apologize for bumping into you. Like most Americans will just jump right by, like.
Sure.
Like, but sometimes we say sorry too much,
Yeah. And I get that. Like, why I have some friends from New York, and they're creeped out by the friendliness. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like to them, it's almost like, what's your angle?
Yeah. What's in it for you?
Yeah.
Why are you trying to smooth things over all the time?
Yeah.
All right. Well, actually, with me, I'm enjoying the weather here in Ontario as well. It's probably just as warm as it is down there. It's been about 30 degrees, pretty steady over the last little while. Today's a little bit more cloudy, so it's a good day to get in and do a podcast. And I just bought a new car. I bought a Kia Telluride, a 2021 Kia Telluride.
Oh.
Very nice vehicle.
Oh.
Yep.
Nice.
So that's what's going on with me.
You told me you were getting a car. I was thinking it would be a Porsche.
No.
That was what I thought.
No, I'm not that kind of person that needs to have like symbolic things like that to show my wealth. I want something that's going to be nice. Like, don't get me wrong, I don't want something that's, you know, bottom of the barrel. This is a fully loaded Telluride, but it's also very practical for the family, which is good. Maybe in the future I'll get something that's more sports car-ish, but right now I'm not in the market for that.
Well, you know, it's funny. I used to have the VW bus, and I really enjoyed it some days. But there's some days you just want to blend in, you know?
Yep.
Kind of going back to the Porsche thing, it's like some days you don't want that attention, you know?
No, for sure, for sure. But if I get a car, it's probably going to be like a Maserati. I don't really like the Lambo thing. I like the Maseratis.
Nice.
All right, so that's a little bit about us. If you guys like to tune into the beginning of our show, that's what we're going to do. We're going to do like a little banter before we get into the crypto topics. But we're very much into crypto and we want to talk about it, and we're going to get to you guys too. So if you have any comments or questions or anything that you want to talk about, we're going to get to that at the end of the podcast. So Blake, what are you thinking about? What do you want to talk about first, Hex or Dash?
Or any crypto some Hex topic? Questions.
Okay.
You know, and as you say, you're a little bit heavier into Dash. My portfolio's a little heavier into Hex right now.
Okay.
That could flip, but at the moment, I'm liking my stakes. But what I'm curious about is last time we talked about your stakes briefly, you talked about using it more as like an income generator.
That's right.
You know, yep. And like I only have 3 stakes, and they're, you know, it's like maybe a 1 year, a 2 year, and a 5 year, I think. And I'm kind of curious how one would stake, like how many stakes are we talking about?
Okay, well, I'll just say my basic strategy is like if you're a Dash and you're watching this and you're a Dasher, so what Hex is, it's a blockchain CD where you lock away your Hex and you get T-shares for your Hex. And the longer you stake, the more T-shares you get. And the more you stake, the more T-shares you get. And T-shares give you a stake into the development of Hex, like the future inflation. So if you have a lot of T-shares, you get a lot of percentage of the inflation. If you have less T-shares, you get less of the percentage of the inflation. So the onus is on you to stake as long as you can and for as much as you can. And this is what generates the income in Hex. So I looked at it. I have actually a 15-year stake. I have a 10-year stake also. But I looked at it from my perspective. I have Dash master nodes. So this is what I'm looking at for getting my income generation. And also I look at that, trying to get the income generation and have that flexibility to end my stake at any time and sell if something happens to the project, right? Well, Hexicans are gonna correct me and say it's a product, not a project. So yeah, nothing can happen to the actual, you know, product. The product's done, the code is finished and everything. But people sure as hell can sell their Hex and crash the price to nothing. But absolutely. It's not. Chances are that's not going to happen. Why kill the golden goose and stuff like that? But that's a risk you have in any currency. Sure. So I looked at it, and I said, you know what? I'm going to just treat it as an income generator. So what I have is 26 different stakes for the 52 weeks a year. So I have one coming out every 2 weeks, and they're year-long stakes. So they keep rolling. So every 2 weeks I'll have a year-long stake expiring, and I just treat it like a paycheck. And even at that level, I still get a 15% ROI, which is good, right? I mean, like, there's nothing wrong with 15%, and I still have that flexibility to get out, and I still have that income coming in all the time. And so that was what I wanted to do. I know that there's some people, Hexicans, that are watching, maybe they want to do YOLO, just everything 15 years, and that's great. Everybody has a different situation, and everyone can approach it differently. I just wanted that mix of flexibility and income.
Well, yeah, I think that's brilliant. I should probably start looking at a strategy like that with some of my my loose Hex laying around. I wasn't sure how plausible it was, like how much basically you'd have to be putting up for it to. Yeah,
you do need to put like more generous amounts
for
that strategy to work. Yeah.
That's what I was kind of curious about, because I haven't really looked into it, but I think that's brilliant, and you're probably doing pretty good, I bet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my original investment into Hex was I had killed a masternode, so like I had to pay taxes and bills and stuff. So I killed a masternode. I had 600 Dash left over, and I bought the very second of the big payday dip. Like as soon as the big payday went down, I bought that dip down, and then I went back up. It went back up, went back up. I actually took some profits off of Hex and bought two masternodes back. So where I started with 600 Dash, I had 2 master nodes, about 2,000 Dash. So and then I took the rest of it. I said I'm just going to let that ride, And then I earmarked some for the Pulse chain, which we'll get into another time. But if we're talking about Hex right now, so Hex, that's what I'm going to do. Keep that as an income generator, and I'm going to play the markets with my Dash.
Nice.
Yeah.
Other than that, really, that was my Hex stuff. I could get into some Dash stuff.
Okay, so what about you? Like you say you have 3 stakes. How are your stakes laddered out?
Let's see. So I put like my biggest chunk is the 5-year one. So, I did it logically, I guess you could say, to where I put my biggest one furthest off.
Yep.
And then I've got like one coming up in a year. And then just the other day, I made one for the 2-year mark. I think it was a 2-year. So I think it's 1 year, 2 year, and 5-year is what mine are.
Okay.
And they're doing great. My 5-year big chunk one, I get a lot of interest on. It's great.
Yeah. What's the API for the 5-year one approximately?
I couldn't tell you. Maybe, I don't know. I'm almost, I want to say it's getting up there, probably like 30% or something.
Nice.
I don't know.
Yeah. So if you're out there at Dash, that's how Hex works. I invite you to check it out. It's at hex.com. It's a good place to park your non-master nodes or anything you want to park that you don't want to trust to somebody else, like CrowdNode and stuff like that. That's a good service if you want to be in Dash. Dash is great. But if you want to put your money into a smart contract that's been immutable and has been 100% uptime and has 3 audits, then Hex is your currency to go with. And you know what, Blake? I don't know if you know about this, but the Hexicans right now, they're having a meetup in Vegas. Did you know about that?
I was close to going, except the hotels were just super expensive.
Yeah. I think they stayed at the Bellagio. I saw Maddie All In and Kareem. They showed a video of this penthouse that they were in. Oh my gosh, it's immaculate. It's awesome. And they have such a nice, a nice view from there. They have a nice view of the pool there and the next hotel over, and all the stuff that's going to be going on. It's just fantastic.
Yeah. What was it, like 600 people showing up or 800 or something?
I think so.
Like that?
Yeah, they're in that stage right now where Dash was when we had the Dash conference in London. Yeah. And we had the Dash meetup in Phoenix, so you could just feel the electricity. They're going through that right now. And this is something I want to get back in Dash, and we're going to talk about that in the Dash portion of the podcast. But the Hexicans really have it going on right now when it comes to community, I'll tell you.
They really do. Strength in numbers.
Yep. They have a nice, the good logo to go put on all the T-shirts. It's an eye-catching logo. If people want to add,
that's what Richard is, a genius marketer. Yeah, he really is. And
who's Richard? Who's Richard for Dashers that are watching? They might not know
Richard
who Richard
Hart, the creator of Hex. He's the creator of Hex, and he's just, man, he is in it to win it. That's what I'm digging about him. And I think that's, not only is the product so great, but he's out there busting his ass, and making it fun and open. And he'll go through every question on those chats. I don't know if you watched that. I know you do, actually. His live streams where, he's answered my direct messages before too, like 3 times now. And, he didn't have to do that.
Yeah, it's very approachable. You're right.
I really appreciate that attitude of being inclusive and being friendly. And at the same time, it's not this like corporate, feel. It's just real. And he's on the live streams. He's honest. You're going to hear him, just speak from the heart. So Dash community, if you're watching this and you're thinking, how are we going to get this back? How are we going to get this mojo that we used to have? Because we used to have it. In London, we had this electricity in the crowd. In Phoenix, we had this electricity in the crowd. We got to get that back. You know what I mean? And how do we do it? This is what I think. There's a lot that's uncommon about Dash and Hex. Like Hex is something where you just store your money. Dash is where you can spend it and spend it well with instant transactions, security, and privacy. But where we need to be together is we need to have those communities that can feed off each other, and that's why I think Dash, like with all its good things, Dash's community is kind of slipping a bit, isn't it? Yeah, the one thing I think Dash could do to catch up to Hex and to sort of to get back that vibe is what we have that's so cool in Dash is the treasury governance. We got that 10% of the market cap that we can use. And I think masternodes got this like stubborn, stingy attitude of like, this isn't a charity. We're not giving away free money. Well, meanwhile, in El Salvador, their president's fixing to give $30 of Bitcoin to 6.5 million citizens. My point being that giving away free stuff sometimes can have a really positive benefit. And I guess my point is that it doesn't have to be free necessarily, but we don't have to be so stingy with the who is allotted money from the treasury, because that, and I say this as someone who's lost quite a few times in the treasury
Me
and who
too.
had, I feel, good intentions and good ideas, where it's like the masternodes holding out of, we're not socialist, we're, whatever. They had this attitude of, we're not giving away this money. That's going to end up causing enemies, and it just takes away from that fun vibe. And I'm not saying that everyone should get $30 of Dash that comes to the treasury, but I'm saying that there's a lot of cryptos right now that are doing stuff like that can kind of gain awareness. Dash being now down so far down the list and the coin market on the market cap, we need to get the awareness back to where people who just pick the top 25 coins, which I know a lot of people that are like that, we need to get back into that range of being taken seriously, or at least
Absolutely.
being on the radar.
I think, well, you mentioned that the Dash treasury is an excellent thing for Dash, and it is. It's great that we have that money available to promote things and to put into legal things. There's a person in Japan who's actually is actually approaching the legal, like the law officers over there, and with a project that's been funded by the Dash network, and they actually have borne fruit. They actually have convinced some regulators over there that Dash is not like to be feared. Like right now, they think that it's purely a privacy coin and it's to be feared, and they can't actually put it on exchanges over there. So for examples like that show that Dash is really good. And the Dash Investment Foundation, where actually a digital currency can invest in a decentralized way in other companies, that's something that's never been heard of before. So those are positive things. But in the negative aspect is that a lot of people use it as a crutch. They're saying, okay, the Dash Core Group's going to do that. The Treasury is going to do that. Why should I do this if it's not being paid for? And whereas you look at the other side and the Hexa they don't have a treasury. They just have people that are diehard dogs out there promoting this. And this is what we need to have back in Dash. We have a treasury, but forget about the treasury. If you can't put money into the treasury and they're not going to sponsor you, great, just do it because you love Dash. And that's what we need to get back to. And that's why I hope you and I can help spur that over time.
Sure. Yeah, I agree with that to the extent of like, if we have that treasury, like, okay, let's compare the two things of what's going on with the economics between Hex and Dash. Like the Hex, those Hex dogs or whatever you call them that are all enthusiastic.
They're dogs. Oh yeah, they're rabid dogs out there promoting. I give them mad respect for that.
Yeah, they're rabid dogs because in a way, their treasury, their inflation that they're receiving is their stakes.
Yep.
So they, in a way, that's kind of their treasury.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's kind of like with Dash, what we could learn from that, and this is obviously just one man's opinion, but is we need that money. We need money to be flowing out in several different directions to several, lots of people. I'm so shocked that Dash doesn't have like, I would hope by now we would have like 500 to 1,000 employees and ambassadors. that's in my mind, that's what I was thinking where we'd be at by now. Like at least, when I first put in my proposals, like 2017, I think, I was like, okay, wow, this is just going to be flooded every month, people all over. And I think with the rules so strict, the voting, I forget exactly how hard it is to win, but it's a pretty tough vote to crack.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
you and I have experience with being on both winning sides and losing sides of the Dash Treasury. And I think that it's very good. It's definitely the first of its kind. And it's similar to Bitcoin, where Bitcoin has been the first of its kind and it's not really innovating. We need to take that treasury and what it is and what it's good at and keep that, but also see where it's not good at and improve it over time. Like that, we can't afford to stay stasis. When evolution is out there and running, I think that's something that we need to focus on as a community.
I'll say this: I agree with you 100%. I think it would be so cool too to have, like in the U.S., we have the Senate and the House of Representatives. So there's like there's like a checks and balance. And while we have in Dash, there is, as far as the voting goes, there's not separate bodies. Like we've done before, there was the Dash Boost thing. Remember that?
Yeah, that was good. I'd like to bring that back in some capacity.
Yeah, I
So
think
what
Dash
was the?
Boost was cool. The one thing I think that I would like to see change in it would be a totally different set of voters. Maybe even could be selected at random or something like that. But it's like, what I'm trying to prevent from happening with this idea is just the same people having a monopoly on winning proposals, which then creates an actual monopoly. Because if every, like, let's just say, easily two groups could start to dominate, like the Diff and Dash Core group. If they kept on getting proposals and kept on winning lots of Dash, their influence and power would grow, which is, I'm not bashing those groups, but, my point being, I want to see, just many different people coming to the DAO.
Yep. And I also think that there's a high bar for entry, and there's been talk about this in the community as well. And this is something that might need to change. I kind of was on the fence about it a little bit earlier, but I think I'm actually warming to the idea, because if you remember, I don't know if you were here at the beginning of the treasury when Dash was like around $10 or something. This is when they created the 5 Dash entry fee, right? And $50 is enough to stop spam, but it's also enough to make it easier for people to actually put a proposal forward. Yeah. And this is something that's changed over time. Dash is now like what's Dash at now? About 130. So you need like $650 to put in a Dash proposal. That's a lot for most people, and that's why recently it's been stagnating. We're seeing only the same people putting in proposals every month. And if we want a vibrant treasury, we got to encourage other people to promote their ideas. Like maybe there's Hexicans out there that say, you know what, I'm really good at doing podcasts and I want to get into Dash. Why don't you pay me some money to do a podcast and I'll get the word out there? And maybe they're really good. Maybe it'll be an awesome thing. Like, this is what I'm saying. It's just an example. But I mean, the more people we can get involved, the more dynamic we can make it, the better for Dash. And I hope we can try to, come together as a community to try to make that happen.
Yeah, I agree 100%. Because if Dash can't meet the yields and the interest of Hex and other, mainly Hex, like, we got to use that treasury, and like you're saying, it shouldn't be like a $600 gamble that is also not just that you win the majority of the votes, but you win, I can't remember the formula, I always forget it, but it's something like you got to have major approval. I'll put it that way. So, I don't know. I don't know if that'll ever change, No,
I think it will. I think right now, I remember in that conference where Ryan was talking about our economics, he was also talking about potential changes to the treasury based on participation. Like there could be one that there's an opt-in, or there could be one that's based on the votes from the previous month. That's how much you're going to need to improve, like to actually pass. So I know that there's ideas being bandied about there. So I'm not going to criticize them for that because they are talking about it. but there's time for talk and then there's time to do. So I think the time to do is probably after evolution is released.
True. You know, one of the ideas I've brought up before that I think would just be so great for just anyone who likes talking about crypto, like this is where I think Dash could cash in, is that, okay, if you like talking about crypto, you're a crypto supporter, I think that it'd be cool if Dash had a setup to where you could give a crypto presentation, and if you film it, video it, and show how many people you have there, you can get rewarded for giving your presentation, and at the end of it, giving out, you know, $5 or $10 of Dash to everybody, similar to the Dash Force meetup program that I thought was really cool. The one thing I didn't like about that, and that I see in a lot of crypto stuff, is that it was photos that was rewarded, you know? So what you ended up having was people, you know, with a photo of 5 of their friends, and they're smiling and they're holding up their wallet. And that's cool, but did those people get a quality presentation? Did they learn about cryptography? Did they learn about private keys? Fiat currency? What would be really cool would be to have a way to, you make a video presentation and then there's a sliding scale that you get paid for. So it's like, let's say you have 20 people show up, you get a little bit more Dash. You know, if you have 20 people show up and you can prove that you gave a presentation, you know, a video presentation, maybe you have a steak dinner event, you know, where you get investors in your town to come have steak and shrimp, and then they also get $25 of Dash at the end. Well, if you can video that and prove it, that you could have a scale of, if 5 people show up, maybe you get 2 Dash. If you have 25, you know, so on. And then a little bonus thing would be too, that the scale could include the masternodes and the community vote on how good your presentation was. So it could be like 2x if it's an excellent presentation, you know?
Okay.
So I don't know. I think that'd be kind of cool. Just one idea.
Okay, I'm going to end that topic by talking about the fact that we need to have kind of like 2 schools, like 2-pronged attack, right? Yeah. We need to tinker with the treasury, so it does encourage that participation. It does encourage that request, like offer for actually participating in the Dash network and just contributing with your strengths. Because this is something that I had with the Dash Nation movement, everybody contributing with their strengths. I think a $50 entry or whatever we decide is okay. Like most people can afford that if they really have a good idea. And I think that we need to develop the treasury, but we also, as a community, we need to stop being so negative. Yes, I get it. I know Dash has slid down the market cap ranks. I know that we have not received the amount of support that other cryptocurrencies have from places like Digital Currency Group and stuff like that. But come on, face it. You guys know we have great technology. We know that what's being built under the hood is not being done by any cryptocurrency out there. We got to be patient. We have to support each other. We have to stop tearing each other apart in the discords and the social media, and just we got to improve the morale of this currency. You know, so this is what we got to work on over time. And I think you're very positive. I'm positive. We're gonna talk about things in the next segment that Dash has to work on, and specifically Dash Core Group. We're gonna tear into them a bit, but this is something that can be done over time, and something that we need to help each other with. Like you have issues with people in the Dash community. I have issues. We just got to bury these issues, right? We got to move forward together, and this is what we need to get our groove back, type of thing. So what do you have to say about that? What do you think about that?
I agree with you there. Like, it's sort of like the reality of the situation with Dash feels like that. It almost seems like people who are in the in crowd, like, you know, they're. I can see why there's a reluctance for them to want to reach out to other people and one, have to divide their earnings and their winnings from the treasury. Let me try to make my point clear. I guess what I'm thinking is it kind of, one thing that bugged me on one hand is like, I don't think I've ever gotten any kind of feedback from Dash Core Group Not that I even need it though, but it's just kind of weird to me that we're so disconnected, you know, and like that bugs me, and I understand it, and I do think everyone should be independent to a degree, but it'd be cool. Like for an example, I remember when I did this one, like I won one of my proposals. I went to San Francisco for a what was it? Some like a coin conference thing, and someone had told me they were gonna to help in the Dash community. They didn't show, and I also I think it would have been a great time for Dash Core Group to have shown up, or there should be some collaboration between the individual contractors, promoters, ambassadors. I guess I'm just shocked at how there's been throughout my time, like no correspondence, no one. I think I've gotten a message from Ernesto Contreras before saying like, hey, you're doing good or something, maybe him, but that's it. The other people, I watched the shows and the presentations, like the quarterlies, but I'm not excited by that, or I'm not getting feedback from them, and I'm not saying that they should have to, but I'm just saying that it's kind of weird that there's not like if I was a head person in Dash, I would be clutching on to any ambassador I could and being like, okay, what do you need? What can I do to help you? What can I do to make you go out to your region and get investors, So that's what I would like to see. I don't know if that makes sense, but
yeah, they're leaders in the community. We're looking for leaders in the community to say, you know what, we need this to be done. And yeah, I understand. This goes back to what we were saying earlier. Not everything can fall in Dash Core Group. We're a community. We all can commit. We can all contribute in our own ways. But I understand what you're saying. And this is the next topic that I want to bring up, is the lack of communication with Dash Core Group. About last year, there was a guy named Dana Ali Brandy, and he was doing some like updates about the Dash Core Group and what's going on there, right? Product updates. It was fairly regular, like every 3 weeks, and that was good communication. But recently, it's been deteriorating, and in the last little while, in the last 2 weeks, the Dash Twitter, the official Dash Twitter, hadn't tweeted anything in like 2 weeks. That was just unacceptable. Like, can you imagine not tweeting anything? And you're a main currency in the top 50, and you haven't tweeted anything for 2 weeks. How do you think investors are going to react to that? This is a dead project, is what they're going to say, straight full stop.
Yeah, and it's a little frustrating too, because we have Twitter accounts. I'm not getting paid by Dash, and yet I still will throw Dash tweets out there, and you know what I mean? It's like what's missing from some. It's like, I don't want to have people who just see it as a paycheck, or, you know what I mean? Like it's got to be passionate, and that's what I'd like to see. And not to say that Dash Core Group's not passionate about crypto. I'm not one to judge that. I guess it's like you're saying, where are the tweets? And it could go with anyone in the Dash community. The main thing that I guess that I don't like to see is that it's territorial. That's what I don't like. And I understand that maybe sometimes people don't want to lose their reputation they built up by attaching themselves to someone like me. But at the end of the day, it's like, you if you have that attitude too long, you'll end up with no one around you.
Absolutely.
And it's not just Dash Core Group that had that. I think there was a few groups in Dash where it was territorial, and they saw anybody who was coming up to the treasury as, oh, they're taking my potential future treasury money or tapping into what I'm doing. And it's like, guys, we need to have like 100 Dash Core groups as far as the marketing and such.
Yep, I agree. So this is one thing that I wanted to talk about, was that's unacceptable. And Dash Core Group, if anybody's watching, you got to do better. Like that's absolutely unacceptable. There's no way that Dash Pay Twitter should be dormant for 2 weeks. So please get somebody on it. If Mark is busy, get somebody else on it, because I'm an investor in Dash. I want to see that Dash Pay account working. And here's another thing that I'm talking about is also, they haven't been using the forum and they haven't been using the Bitcoin talk. These are two things that could potentially get the word out to different investors. Not everyone is on the Discord. Not everyone is on the Reddit. Not everyone is on Twitter. You got to take that. You got to use the Dash forum for announcements. There's no announcements about version 17 on the Dash forum. That's also unacceptable. And there's nothing on the Dash on the BCT, which was our main forum of communication. And yeah, maybe it's not seen by as many people now, but you should be posting that in all our main communication chats, because there's still people on BCT that might not know that version 17 is out. So you have people on BCT that don't see version 17 is out. They see a Dash Pay Twitter that's not tweeting. This has got to change. We got to get that communication out there. But there is something going forward that's going to be interesting, because they've hired a new marketing director, is Arden Goldstein. And I'm very interested in seeing what she's going to bring to the table, because she's got a very impressive resume. So I'm going to hold my judgment. I'm going to tell them, yes, you got to improve, but Arden's going to be a big part in that improvement, I would hope. But you and I are going to hold their feet to the fire if they don't.
Yeah, I've seen her too, and I may have brought this up on the last show that I did read something she was doing that I thought was cool, which was tapping into the expat community from Latin America down in Florida, like near Miami. There's an expat community, and she was working on some kind of plan there to talk with them and get some kind of marketing going. So that could be cool. Stuff like that, where it's like, you know, I'm the first person to understand how hard it is, what you're up against when it comes to creating adoption. Man, I know that very, very well, as someone who's been granted money to go make it happen. And then what happens is you go, okay, I got all this cash. What do I do with it now? How can I, your average person walking down the street, you can't just flag them down. And it's a weird thing that it's a weird position you find yourself in. But I like that idea that she's got. And I think that if nothing else, just try stuff. Like, don't just sit on the money. I think some people, what they're doing is they sit on the money and they do minimal amounts of work and just kind of hope that they'll breeze by and nobody will notice next time that they have their charts and graphs and talk about the future, what we're going to do, when the next, I remember people telling me, oh, wait till the next bull run comes. That's when we'll really kick in. Well, here we are, and my whole thing back then too was like, just do what you can, find something and make it happen, and don't ask for a lot of money, that way you don't have that pressure on you. Because even Dash Core Group, if they don't start living up to the big amounts of money they're asking for, the investors will eventually turn on them the way they seem to turn on a lot of people.
Agreed. All right, so that's good enough for Dash for today, because there's more things we can talk about with Dash. There's more things to fix. There's more good things coming up in the pipeline. I'm going to leave Dash alone. I'm going to leave Dash Core Group alone for now. But I want to talk about something that's positive. So as you know, that digital currency group, they run a lot of trusts. So they have like a Bitcoin trust, an Ethereum trust, an XRP trust, or whatever currencies they're into. But they've purposely avoided Dash. So if you're a Hexacan out there and you know that how Hex has been gatekept, it's like stuck on the page 3 of CoinMarketCap, even though it should be in the top 5. This is similar gatekeeping that we've had in Dash. And there is, for some reason, I don't understand why it is, even though Dash is so successful technologically and we have a great passionate community, we've been kind of like an afterthought. If we try to post something on our cryptocurrency, it gets downvoted to oblivion. Why? It's a good project. CoinDesk, there recently was an article about how a school was accepting Bitcoin, Ethereum, and XRP, and they were also accepting Dash. And they didn't put it in the headline, and they put all the other coins tickers, but they just put Dash in like small letters. Like the disrespect. It's like, I don't know if you know who Rodney Dangerfield is, but
Yeah.
We're the Rodney Dangerfield of crypto. Dash is the Rodney Dangerfield of crypto. We get no respect. And there's no reason why we shouldn't get any respect, because it's a very serious project. It's a very well done project. And we have the best potential out there. So it makes you wonder, like, why is this happening? I don't understand why Ryan Taylor has to come on the quarterly and say we've been treated hostily by Digital Currency Group. And like, I'm just trying to wrap my head around it. Is it because of Evan? Evan's long gone. Evan Duffield was the lead developer and founder of Dash, but he's gone. Like, I just don't understand it. So the good news that I want to talk about is that we're kind of doing our own thing. And this is something that Mark Mason, who's the communications director for Dash, was talking about in the last, like in the Discord. He was saying that we have to do our own thing. We have to become kind of like the Apple of cryptocurrency. We have to do our own thing because no one else is doing anything for us. Nobody else is giving us any kind of break whatsoever, and it's tough to understand why. So that leads me to what this good news is about the Valkyrie Trust. The Dash Investment Foundation, which is paid for by the Treasury, and it's handled by the masternodes. It's voted in by the masternodes, has actually done an investment in a financial services company called Valkyrie. And they're actually going to be interested in starting a Dash Trust. So it will be the first Dash Trust out there where we can get institutional investors into Dash without having to go through the markets. They can just go through this Dash Trust. And this can also be done through personal like investments. Through, I guess you have what in 401k or something it's called.
Yeah.
And here we have something similar to that in Canada. And you'd be able to do that with this Dash Trust. And I just think that's fantastic news, because if no one else is going to do it for us, buddy, we're going to do it ourselves. And when Dash actually gets out from under this censorship and comes out from under this gatekeeping, look out, man, because we're building something special here.
I agree with that. I agree with that 100%. Yeah, and I would say the answer to why we're treated so, it's really a fear. I think, it's competition, and we've talked before, like, who knows how many fake troll accounts exist in our Discords just to bring negativity, because this is billions of dollars at stake. So it wouldn't surprise me at all if I'll just put it this way: the negativity and the ignoring of Dash is probably very strategic.
Yeah, and as it probably is with Hex as well. So you got the Hexicans in here that they say, "Oh, we know all about gatekeeping." Like this is blatant gatekeeping, because like it has a huge market cap and it's stuck on page 3 with the scam coins. And like, it's like, why is it there? It has 100% uptime. It has 3 audits. This is something that people are actively making money and creating millionaires by the day, but yet it's stuck on page 3. It just flabbergasted. And this is what's been happening with Dash to a lesser extent. Like, we're actually listed where we're supposed to be on CoinMarketCap, but when it comes to social media and how we're treated and how we're viewed, it just makes no sense when you look at how good the community is and what the technology is that we're building to be a digital cash. So hopefully that'll change, or we do it ourselves.
Yeah. And it's very similar. Hex and Dash are very similar, and both, I have the feeling of, like you said, watch out when the curtains fall down, because both projects still have so much room, to go up.
Yep.
It'll be crazy to see.
If you're a Hexican out there and you've never tried a Dash wallet, your only experience is with Bitcoin or Ethereum, I highly invite you to download a Dash wallet from dash.org/downloads, dash.org/downloads. Try it. If you want, you can post your Dash address in the chat here if you download it quickly, and I might send you some Dash later. And you can send it to me. I'll send it back to you. You can see how quickly it is, because I can send you Dash. You can send it right away to Blake. Blake can send it to me. We can just keep sending it back and forth amongst each other, and it will just keep going. Not like Bitcoin, you got to wait for 6 confirmations before you can send anything to anybody else. And you have to wait like probably 2 hours right now with the lower hash rate. Like, when you use Dash, basically you will never want to use anything else. So I invite you to try out a Dash wallet. So,
Yeah, the Dash wallet is the only one I've used in public places, and it been a natural feel. Like I bought stuff at Lowe's, bought stuff a few different places where I was able to make the transaction happen instantly and do it in line without it being this like, headache or like it being a task, it's a slight task just because that's where we're at. But, I can do that with Dash. I can get stuff at a lot of major places through the gift cards. And because it's instant confirmation, I could do it while I was in line, you know? So that's a big deal.
all right, perfect. So the Hexicans out there, thanks for joining us today. We're going to call it a wrap today. We got lots more stuff to talk about, but we don't want to do it all in one episode. Always keep them wanting more, right?
Yes. This is the way.
And I want to thank you, Blake, for joining me. I know you've had a rocky ride in the Dash community, and I think that this is something where your talents are going to be perfectly suited. And I look forward to continuing this journey with you.
Well, I appreciate it, Tao, and I do. I still love Dash, and I see it going upwards.
Perfect. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Until next time.
See you, Tao.